In this video, I'm going to show you how we can update the OmniScript to only show the pages that we need to see. So for instance, over here, we don't need to ask the user for the object ID. We should be able to send that through when we click on the button. And same with template type. We can either choose between Microsoft Word and PowerPoint. We should know what our document type is without prompting the user to select it. Now, just letting you know, I do have my instructions on my screen on the right. So if I am looking to the right from time to time, that's why. So the first thing that we need to do is to send through the values with our when we click on the button. So coming back into where we've got this custom button or link, I'm just going to edit the URL. And to add things to this link, we need to add in an ampersand and C and then 2 underscores. So I'm just going to copy that and then add that on to the end there. And I'm going to add in or pass through something called account ID. So account ID equals, and then we're going to put in a merge field. So we're already on our account object. So we'll just put in account ID there. And then I'm also going to send through the account name. And the reason being is because I'm going to show you how we can change the name of the document to include the account name. So we'll just go account name. And these variable names can be whatever you'd like. This is ultimately what we're going to reference in the OmniScript. So we'll put in account name and then we'll save that. Now coming back into our OmniScript itself, we'll just open that up. And in order to update it, we do have to deactivate it. So rather than deactivating and working on the current version, I'm going to create a new version. That way, if I make any errors, I can just revert back to the previous version. When you have a new version, you'll see that I've got the same tab for the same things. So one of them is version 1 and one of them is version 2. I do like to keep it a bit tidy by closing the first version. You don't want to accidentally go in there and update version 1 when you're meant to be working on version 2. Now, if I open up our first step, which is enter object, you'll see that we're asking for the user to enter an object ID, and we're also getting them to select the template type. Now, I'm only using Microsoft Word templates in this particular example, so there's no need to ask the user that. I can actually preset it. So if I come into build and I'm looking for set values, I'll just click onto that and drag it up the top. And then in there, so just having a look, this is called template type. So I'm going to copy that and just over here where we've got new element value, put in template type, and the value is Microsoft Word. And the value should be exactly like one of the options there, so Microsoft Word there. So now that we're setting that value, we don't need to ask the user to select the template type because we already know what it is. So I'm just going to delete that. And now what we can do is select onto the enter object step, come down, and we'll add in a conditional view. So we only want to show this element if something's true. So we'll just click onto that. And the field that we're going to look at is account ID that we're passing in. And we're saying only show this step if it's equal to null. So we'll just click on save, and then null will automatically come in like that there. So because I've done this a few times, I know some of the gotchas already. What I'm going to do is just change the name of this object ID to input object ID like that. And then underneath here, this step, I'm going to add in another set values. So we'll just look for set values and drag that in there. And then underneath, we're going to call this element name our object ID. So I've renamed this one. And now I'm going to call this one our object ID. So I'm just going to click on add new element value, and we're going to call this object ID. And then I'm just going to say use expression for value, and then I'm going to type in the formula here. So essentially we're going to add in an if statement, and we're going to say that if the incoming account ID is equal to null, then we want this to be the input object ID from above. Otherwise, we want it to be account ID. So just to go through that, if the account ID that's being passed in from the button is equal to nil, we want the object ID field to be the input object ID from above. Otherwise, we want it to be the account ID that comes in. And the reason why I'm doing this is so that we can preview this OmniScript and then enter in the object ID manually, and also run it from the form itself. So we'll just, or from the record itself. So we'll just use that in there and click on save. Coming down now to our generate options step. This is the step that defines all these different bits and pieces that the user can select. Now, in our example, I don't want to show this to the user. So instead of just deleting it, I'm just going to add something to this set value step here, and just go to new element. And I'm just going to call this one show generate options, and I'm going to give this a value of false, and we'll save that. And then this generate options, just scrolling down to our conditional view, we're going to say if our show generation options does not equal false, and save that. Then coming down to the step that has our set generation options, you can see that all of these things here have got a value that's coming in from this generate options screen here. So just looking at my cheat sheet to my left, I'm going to go ahead and just update those. So I'm going to change this one to, we can actually get rid of that and just say PDF. The document generation mechanic will be client side. And in case you're wondering where I'm getting these from, it's just from the actual fields above. So you can see there, that's where we've got client side and so forth. So just coming back in, our document viewer, in my example, I want this to be none. So I'm just going to update that to none. And just coming down, the document file will be all. PDF source generation will be client side as well. The use template will be yes. And then the document title, we're actually going to give it a formula for this one. So this is where we've got the account name. So we'll have an if statement again. So if account name, so this is the account name that we're sending through. Is equal to none. Then we'll give it the selected template name. Otherwise, it will be, I've just noticed the mistake there. Otherwise, it'll be account name, and then we'll add in like a dash and space, and we'll have the template name. So this will be the template name that the person selects from the actual drop down. So just to go over what we're doing here, if the account name that's passed in from the button is equal to none, then just give the document title the selected template name, or if there is an account name, just prefix the template name with the account name in the beginning with a dash in between, and we'll click on save. Now those values that I added there, I did get them from online. There's a resource, so what I'll do is I'll add that to the description of this video so that you can see what the options are there. And then just scrolling down, we've got our generate document over there, and let's just scroll down and we'll just confirm everything that we've got in there. So we've got the object ID, so this needs to be updated to just straight object ID. we've got our selected template, we've got debug, we've got set to false, and then we've also got the document title, which we have defined in the previous one there. So we'll just scroll all the way to the top and activate that version. And then just clicking onto preview to see if this still works within our preview mode. You can see that object ID is only showing there, and then just showing in the data.json output over here. One of the first things that we set was our template type. So you can see template type has come through there. So if we now go back into, we've activated this already. If we now go back into our account over here, just close this tab, and I'm going to click on generate document again. So it hasn't come through. It says it's either inactive or being replaced with a new version that hasn't been deployed. So let me just go back and deploy that one. So clicking on the drop down, there should be a way to deploy. Let me just deactivate this. And click on activate again. I actually think I only needed to refresh the page, so let me go and do that. So we'll just close this and refresh. Okay, so we'll click on generate documents, and down below you can actually see that it's passing in. If we just go up the top here, we should see at the back we've got our account ID and the account name that's being passed in. So that's bypassed the account name where you've got to put all that details in. We've only got the template to select, so we'll click onto that. And now it should bypass all the other generate options as well. And then you can see all it's done is gone straight into download the Word and download the PDF. So what I did is I got rid of the PDF preview as well. So if I click on download Word or download PDF, what we should find is that that should be the document that we were expecting there as it last was. So I appreciate there's a few complexities in updating the OmniScript, and I did have to pause the video a few times because things weren't working out the way that I expected them to the first time. So it might just be a bit of tweaking. As I said, I will put in a link to the resources that show you what are those different template options that you can choose, what are the different generation options, you know, when to use null, when to use none, and so forth.